Last game, Denver, 24-17 winners. I thought personally, and I mean, it's obvious, but the Ryan Matthews injury had a humongous effect because as we were watching the game, they kept trying to reestablish the run. Michael made this point. They kept trying and kept trying. When you have Ronnie Brown and Danny Woodhead, when Ryan Matthews had a really good year, he had a very good year. But then he was out for the second half, the remainder of the second half, and they kept going back to it over and over and over. They have weapons on offense. Why not throw the ball more? Why not?
Look, they dropped a ton of passes. I mean,
they didn't throw enough of them. I mean, they really should have thrown the ball more.
But they dropped.
Philip Rivers attempted 27 passes.
Every guy. They didn't. First of all,
22 of them were dropped.
They didn't have the ball a lot, and
that's true.
But yeah, I mean, they thought establishing the run was clearly going to work. It worked the previous week where they'd had great success.
When do you say we haven't established it? We're not going to establish it today. You know, that call has to be made.
I think you guys are entirely right. And so Ronnie Brown runs hard, gives the maximum of his ability, which is not very high, but bless his heart for trying hard.
Are you faster than Ronnie Brown?
There's some chance I am, actually.
I believe so.
Okay. Danny Woodhead is a great role player, and I love him as a role player. But Ryan Matthews being hurt him really bad. Ryan Matthews ran all over the Broncos in the regular season, right? And so without that weapon, then everybody's pressing. Maybe that's even, I mean, this is a real stretch, but like they feel more pressure, and then some people drop balls. And so it just had this unwinding effect. And, you know, they only lost by 7 with Ryan Matthews in the game.
Yeah, and they had a chance. I mean, they without a 5-minute drive.
No, with that game plan, having Ryan Matthews makes a lot of sense. But once you don't, then that game plan has got to change.
You guys are absolutely right.
But I think they got. I mean, I'm going to guess that they got frustrated by the drops too. And then, you know, it's funny. And then as soon as it gets to be 17-0, then you relax. You know, and then you stop dropping passes, you know, and then they scored 17 points in the fourth quarter.
When it was 17-0, I bet on the Chargers when it was 17-0. Look,
Mazel tov.
Thank you. And so, look, for the people who watched my prediction before, there's a lot.
That was an unbearable video.
Thank you. Yeah. And there was a lot of like, ha ha, what happened to San Diego? First of all, if you remember from the video, you can go back and look at it. I said 9 points.
Don't do it.
Yummy in my tummy. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that was terrible.
And what happened? It was 7 points. It covered. I made a lot of money. So even though San Diego lost. And now I'm going to say something that is ridiculous. I'm a little glad San Diego lost. Okay? Because next week is going to be awesome. And whatever money I would have made from San Diego going to the Super Bowl, well, I'm either going to make or unmake next week on New England. Yeah. Okay?
All right. Interesting.
Yes. So, look, and honestly, who doesn't
Is that yummy in your tummy as well?
Oh, that's very yummy in my tummy. Okay. So, who doesn't want Manning, Brady, round 15?
Well, you know, I got to say, I think the play this weekend, I thought the football was not very good. Look, I didn't think they were such great games. I mean, you were in a sports book, which totally takes any kind of opinion away.
I kind of agree with you.
I thought they were good.
I thought the teams that won played really well. I mean, so that makes them less interesting.
But that does make them good games. Yeah.
Right.
You know,
I thought they were all good games until the last one, which was not terribly interesting.
Right. The Chargers Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, until it was 17-0 until there were 7.5 minutes to play in the game.
Yeah.
You know.
So look, for 2 of the games, the first half was really interesting.
Yeah.
New England,
but last weekend we had the Chiefs and we had the Philly and
I know, but you can't compete.
No, you can't. I'm just saying that it was a real letdown this week.
But the 49ers game and the Colts game were really interesting in the first half, not so interesting in the second half, and the reverse for the Saints and the Chargers games, not so interesting in the first half, a little interesting in the second half.
Interesting. If you didn't have money on them, not
I thought there were good storylines in the game because I thought the Seahawks defense was obviously sensational in the first half when the game was really decided and then
when it had to be.
And so, like, you learned a lot about the Seahawks, and what was interesting also was that they couldn't complete a pass, you know, and that they couldn't move the ball, and their inability to move the ball in the second half from a gambling point of view, and then from also a football point of view was interesting. And the way the Panthers looked so good, the Panthers overhyped that storyline was interesting to me. And then the Niners doing what it is with the Niners, where like you realize from that last drive of the first half on, you're like, oh, that was a quietly dominant performance.
Yes.
So I thought that was interesting too. And then the Patriots running the ball was was fascinating. So
Yes.
I really, until I said 17-0, but it was 24-7 with 7.5 to go. So that's why I thought the first 3 games were all interesting.
By the way, a few big plays, and then I'll get to you. The 5 neutral zone infractions for the Chargers absolutely killed them, in my opinion. On third down, they were 4 of 12. On the biggest play of the game, the defensive lapse on 3rd and 17, you got a chance to